everyone, hope you guys are doing okay. Also hope my mic this time is okay. I was a little bit late because I had to spend around 10 maybe more minutes seeing if it's okay. I have my phone here. Let me just check if I'm hearing myself. Yeah, I guess it's nice. So setting up for another week. We're gonna basically look at Bitcoin, gold, ES, and the Nasdaq. See what type of setups we might have in store for us. And I currently already have some things to talk about for Bitcoin. As a reminder, if anyone has any kind of questions about what I'm talking about, if you guys want to give your own feedback as well, anything like that, the Discord is free to join. We have a big free section, even though it has an optional paid section with some perks, some valuable perks. The free community or the free section of the community is also very valuable. So if you guys want to join and talk about whatever I'm going to say today during the stream, feel free. Also, I'm gonna try to, as usual, I didn't plan what I'm talking about because I want to go over what happened with you guys and see what that may give us in terms of probabilities for what's maybe coming this week. So let's not waste more time. Currently, as you can see, I'm on Bitcoin Binance chart, the daily one. Out of the box, there are some things that I want to mention and remind you guys, which is currently the CME, in this case Friday, it ended way down here. So if we start Monday with higher prices than this, in this case, what's equivalent on Binance is whatever it ended at 10 p.m. UTC plus 1 time. At that time, we were at 52,872. What this means on the CME chart, as you can see here, the CME chart, the last candle was 52,980. Okay, that essentially means that if we have a gap from here to whatever price is at, we're gonna have a gap in price that the market will have a very big tendency to well, reach for. So what that essentially means is that the higher we go, the harder the drop will be, because it's very unusual for us to leave gaps for a long period of time, leave them alone. That being said, we also have a gap to the upside that was not fully filled. Okay, so for example, as you can see, there was a gap here that was completely filled, not in the first try but on the second one. Then we had this one over here that was also filled with this drop, immediate reaction after that. We also did this one, which was immediately filled on the very next day, Monday. This one as well, just a little bit of uptrend after the market opens, but then completely filled. This one, very small, also filled, and so on and so forth. We have some but you get the picture. Right now, the only gaps that we have to be filled are this one over here, which is at 62270. So we have that gap to be filled yet, and we also have this gap that, because we're currently at 54, we are probably going to reach for. Okay, so what does this mean technically, and what can we expect? If we drop immediately, that gap is going to stay there probably for quite some time, unless we use this low as an SFP to start Monday as a fake move. That would maybe look like something like us starting around here. I would even maybe consider the possibility of us coming for these areas here. This has this order block, small, it's kind of a considerable range. It's a 4-hour range, this small consolidation, and maybe finding some resistance on that consolidation or upon reaching this pivot low here, which is kind of aligned with this one. So maybe one of these two possibilities, find resistance here and then drop for an SFP. Oops, sorry. I'll fix this soon. For an SFP, which would then maybe give us a move up. So something like this. I can see this as a possibility. Something like that. And in that case, that obviously would be a very bullish thing, at least until we reach for 62,270. The other possibility is that we don't stop pushing higher and leave this gap. If we do that and get to this gap first, then I would actually be thinking that either from this general area, which I would bet more actually on the inverted fair value gap, here, either here or here, one of these as inverted fair value gaps could be something that pushes us way down, going way down. I'm looking at this area, this range over here, which is basically the whole month of December till February. I'm including all of this. Why? The market starts on this candle, and we have trouble continuing the downtrend, and we come back essentially to fill the gap. Only after that do we break out. So essentially, this volume profile is up until the candle that breaks out of this area, breaks above this high. Okay. Actually, sorry, I think it's one less. It doesn't really make much of a difference. Okay. Actually, I was looking at on the daily. That's maybe a bad idea. Less precision. Something like this. You get the picture. What really matters is that it takes us to this consolidation here. This range. And so if we go to the gap first and then struggle to go past it, or even if we take the high but then completely invert market structure, if we take that high and then completely change market structure, then I wouldn't actually expect this gap's bottom to be a place where we flip structure bullish again to go to like 70k or more. I would actually expect price to at least come for that range POC, which on the CME chart is 47,650. So the equivalent of this on a normal exchange, this is the CME, right? So the equivalent of this on a crypto exchange would be getting up somewhere to this 4-hour inverted fair value gap. Okay, get somewhere up there, or sorry, get somewhere up here like we were talking, get somewhere up here and then just completely go down, which on this chart would actually be a bit more bearish looking, because we would be looking at that area 43,800, somewhere between that. Okay, something like that. And on Binance that would actually look more scary because the drop seems bigger. Okay, let me just keep this here as a reminder of why we pumped, or a possibility of why we pumped. So on a normal crypto exchange it could be something like this, or again with the idea of going for the gap's bottom, this would probably be the equivalent of maybe finding some resistance here. We have previous day VWAP at 54,928, and we also have this previous low, also an order block, and this range here. We would maybe come to that, SFP this, and then if we change structure, I would look into us getting to that area, okay? Because this would be the equivalent to the CME gap, okay? Right now, there's something to consider on there's something to consider here on Binance, is that we just made equal lows here. So all in all, this is liquidity waiting to be grabbed, because we just very recently went above this high. Maybe Asia will take us up first, but then we have to be really mindful of what happens on this high and what happens on these areas. Okay, we have previous day view up, previous structural point, this liquidity, which is basically Saturday's high. And one of the things that I like to do, people from the community already know, is to mark out the high and low of Saturday's the high and low of Saturday, and check out what the deviations are. And for example, there are two things that I find interesting here. The first one is that the 1.618 and the one, which basically is a 1-to-1 deviation of this weekend consolidation. Both the 1618 is interesting because it's the CME gap's bottom of the weekend, and the 1-to-1 deviation is also interesting because it would represent, if we go there and change structure, it would essentially represent an SFP, right? In terms of the other values, we can maybe find probably we can maybe find some. For example, there's this order block. Well, at least on the 1 hour, there's not much more than that order block, to be honest. But yeah, but we have this block here, and so we can maybe find some other things. Of course, if I go on 15 minutes or something, I will find some random order block that wasn't touched, and they might line up with one of the deviations. But let's try to keep it simple, shall we? So if it's an SFP and if you see a change in structure, there is a chance that we go to the CME gap that is not yet filled. I wouldn't say that this is one of those super strong um, movements that are not easy to get, because it seems like it is easy to get. Okay, um, so I wouldn't be surprised if price is able to take all of this. It doesn't look that hard. Okay, so yeah, this is a target. This whole area is a target, um, and considering that it is the equivalent of the CME gap, yeah, I find that very interesting. To be honest, that is kind of it for Bitcoin, because we basically have a scenario of, well, two scenarios of if this then that, and that's basically what I try to base myself out of every bigger market or bigger narrative decision. Uh, Keeping it simple like this gives me basically a plan to start Monday off of. Okay. Now the thing is, in my opinion, Asia session is going to be really important for Bitcoin this week, because if it just very simply just drops down from here, never changes structure, and by the way, that's one of the things that you have to consider. If we go up first, and if we don't, if we are not able to create bullish structure, building out or building forward from here, then it becomes really dangerous if we don't have a reaction from taking this low. So if you do catch a nice short from this area, keep in mind that here might be a good area for simply like a partial, because there's a possibility that we not only go for this low, but also a probability that we go further down, right? If we go on the weekly, keep also in mind that this is an untested fair value gap on the weekly time frame. Okay, we have not tested that yet. So coming down to that, it's kind of like, why not? It's totally possible. Even though it's not a vector, the way price is reacting, totally possible. So speaking of vectors, let's also keep in mind, if I'm not mistaken, let me just put this a little bit clearer. Yeah, let's also remind ourselves that this fair value gap is a vector. Okay, and then even though it is more than 50% recovered, which is maybe one of the reasons why we were able to go straight down, those pink candles generally don't last long. So yeah, I wouldn't really be surprised. It is a vector on the daily, by the way, that candle over there, so it might become a magnet anyway. Now, in terms of what's very much current, let me bring CoinEgg here to this side of my screens. Let's refresh this. Let's see what are our biggest liquidation areas, shall we? Let's go on the 4 hour. Okay. Hide this for now. Liquidation levels. Not loading. Very cool. Thank you very much. Come on. If it doesn't work, we can just go to the heat map. Let's see for the last week. So biggest points anyway is the low that we have currently. This is nothing very major, to be honest. 250 million to 73 million. So yeah, the low seems juicy. This area 52 to 50. This low seems juicy. The high at 57 for 50 as well. Oh yeah. Current low is very juicy. Current high is very juicy as well. Yeah, I would say this basically corroborates with my narrative. We bounced off because of the liquidation level we had, very obviously, I guess. So now this might cause a reaction. The VWAP is just around this area. I think this area is where I have the fair value gap. Let me check. What's the number on this? Like 55.4, 50%. So 55.4 is over here. So maybe we don't even need to get that because this is the highest level here. 55.200. Let's say 55.200. Yeah, that takes us to this previous structural point here. So that makes an interesting confluence there. Let's see the equivalent of the CME gap bottom, 52.872. Do we have something there? Not really. It's just basically where the liquidations end. Let's see 2 weeks here. It basically tells us the same thing. The highest point is still... This is one of the things why I'm thinking about us going up. Because the highest points in 2 weeks, the highest points are 60k, 61, and then above 61 we do have this high that might be a very nice SFP, maybe good for a scalp, but then this just looks too easy, right? This just looks one of those easy liquidation areas, short squeeze areas. Yeah. So anyway, what I'm looking at here is that it basically corroborates with what we are thinking. Oh, and the 1 hour it shows. 4 hour doesn't. That's kind of odd. Only odd because I know it's capable of showing. Okay, so let's see what I can see from here on the 1 hour. On the 1 hour. Limit orders do we have to corroborate with that? Yes, we do. So biggest liquidation level that we have is here, 53,500 and 53,300 ish. Those kind of like areas. So again, this would just mean taking out the equal lows, maybe coming for the gap or a little bit of the gap, and then move up. If we move up first, that's a little bit more bearish in my opinion. If we move up first, we would start getting to these areas which will be acting as total magnets, total magnets. And then we have that big cluster, which is what we were talking about earlier. And you can see how price reacts to clusters like this. When it starts reaching for them, that's probably when short squeezes start to happening. So, you know, not a very good short area. That's why areas like these, you know, very bad to try and short. Don't fall into that trap, even if you see price really retracing. So yeah, if we go down, I think if you want a bullish setup, going down is ideal. Going down first is ideal, because if we go up first, I don't think that's a good sign, because then the drop might be too harsh depending on how many people start longing. If too many people start longing, they're gonna be probably squeezed, right? So I guess that is it for Bitcoin. Let me just take a look at Discord. I don't know if anyone posted anything. Okay, so far no. Oh, just one last thing. Let me just check Exo. Currently, what do we have there? What we have there? Well, again, a lot of orders there. This might, the equal lows, this might create some kind of reaction on the equal lows. If we react from these already, these are stacked imbalances. If we react from these already, then we might start moving up even before taking the equal lows. Might be good enough for a scalp. Depends on where price is at when Sydney starts. We'll see. Okay, so let me close this. Let me close that. Actually, let me not close that. Just so that I can screenshot that for the community later. Okay, so now that is that for Bitcoin. Let's look at gold now. Okay, so what do we currently have? First of all, let's check the RTH gaps and see if see what's the last one. Okay, we still have one up there that still is not filled. This is all completely filled. This one is still not filled. So we kind of have a similar situation than what I mentioned on Bitcoin. The difference here is that this was already a nice liquidity grab, and we moved up from that. So this technically on the RTH chart was also a bullish change of structure. We did make a higher low. We did make a higher low. This gap is completely filled. We have already tested this gap very slightly, but the reaction is not very bearish. The reaction off of this gap is not very bearish. So either we start flipping structure, maybe after taking some kind of liquidity like that low here. Please remember that this is a 1 hour low. And after that, we start coming up for that gap plus these highs. Or if we actually do find resistance anywhere here, then I would think that we're going for that gap's bottom, 2494. This is CME's values. So that is what I see on the RTH chart. So let's go on the ETH and see what's there. So over here, equal highs up here. Sorry. So we don't have those, we don't have that high there, right? Yeah. Keep in mind, we do not have this high on the RTH chart. Also, these highs, 2562.2, 2562.2, so also equal highs here. More liquidity to grab. So if we come up here, I think we're going instead to 2562. We'd, we would basically be targeting the all-time high, correct? Correct. We would be basically targeting the all-time high. Is there another high above that? No, right? No. So let me just mark this. Okay. So this liquidity grab already happened, followed by another. And then that change of character. Let me go down a time frame. So apparently it was this guy who held it. Point of control of this range. Okay. This area basically held price from dropping further. Yeah, this all looks very much like liquidity, right? So I guess it kind of depends on both where we start. Because for example, would be nice if we start a little bit lower, SFP this low or this low, and then start moving up if we want a bullish scenario. Let me check levels here on the 15. What do we have? I can delete this now. No naked levels except down there. Let me mark that before moving forward. 2448. Point 4 and point of control there. Besides this, we don't have anything else. That would be very bearish. That would be very bearish. Would be nice to have something else that can maybe serve as well, we're gonna have this one. This is going to be a naked VWAP when the day starts. It's going to be previous week VWAP. I'm gonna mark it like that. But yeah, that's going to be previous week VWAP. Keep in mind this is the monthly VWAP already, and we have that would be like filling the gap. That can also be a possibility. It was actually, this drop was actually nice on the 15-minute charts. I think a member of our community talked about this, although he was looking at it from just a normal fair value gap perspective, because that was a vector area. But as an inverted gap type of trade, this was very nice. So yeah, I would maybe be looking into an SFP of this as maybe a Monday's fake move into a move up. From there, the VWAP can be possibly a short scalp if we are really going to go up. The VWAP may not be more than a short scalp, maybe. But it can also be a very bearish thing, bringing us to 2494, and if that doesn't hold, the point of control at 2449, which also has a gap to fill, very big one actually. Let me mark that. This was already tested after market open. Might be relevant. Might be relevant to take note of that. This one's already filled, right? Or no? It's not. Okay. This one is not filled yet. Guys, all these are nothing more than just good take profits, okay? That's what they're mostly useful for. Because not always do you get reactions like that. Yeah, that would actually be kind of bearish, because that gap down there is already tested, even though it's naked point of control in VWAP. If it's already tested, I would actually think that maybe it's not gonna hold. And if that is not gonna hold, we're going for these lows and maybe fill the rest of this gap. So it's actually a very bearish idea to think about the possibility of a carry, like a big trade down there. Very bearish possibility indeed. But I guess that's it. Going back to the normal, I guess that is it. Taking out all of those highs seems probable. We do have to keep in mind the possibility of going down though. I'm gonna mark out this 4-hour order block too, because it's at the gaps, one of the gaps bottoms. That range might hold price. Let me do a volume profile there. Oh, that's a big one. Yeah, the point of control there is interesting. Let me mark that too. Let me get out of replay here. Did I set that right? Actually, I could drag this out a little bit up until that candle which breaks out of this high. Doesn't change the range of point of control though. Let me include this candle too. Yeah, it doesn't change it. So that is an interesting area over there. 2494 is an interesting area. Previous day view up 2538 is also an interesting area. And this possible SFP or that low from its Friday's low, also an interesting area for an SFP and move up. So it basically, guys, just basically set alerts for these areas. Check out where price gaps to when the market opens. If we come to the previous day VWAP or weekly VWAP, that might be a good shorting opportunity to get to 2494. Keep that in mind, okay? Let's see this on the daily. Okay, the daily basically takes out this high and engulfs this candle. So this is more bearish than it looks, maybe, okay? The only problem is that we did create equal highs while doing so. But for example, this candle's job is already done in the sense that it took out previous candle's low and then the high was targeted. The thing is that this looks very much like a range. It's not a trend at all, right? And currently we took out a previous day high, engulfed the previous body, that candle's body. So this is a little bit more bearish than it looks, actually, to be honest. On this area, maybe I should mark out the range, the volume profile of this area here. Point of control of this range is going to be up here. So maximum resistance there in terms of volume. Secondary resistance is essentially the value area low of that area. Being close to previous day view up, I think that's an interesting place to look for a short. And I think that would be it. Okay, let's move on. ES. Let's see what's about ES. ES, we reached a bunch of view ups that we talked about on the previous weekly stream. I'm gonna delete all of these. This gap that was a target is completely filled. This was also a previous day view up that we were targeting, completely filled. In fact, to be honest, I can delete a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna redo that gaps high over there. This can also be deleted. So we basically reached one of the gaps that I was hoping we could reach. Now the question is if we are more bearish or not. Let me go here to look for levels. Let's update all of these levels. Five, 8250. Point of control just below. Monthly VWAP is going to be up here. This is going to be previous day VWAP too. Weekly in this case. There's also, I have that marked out already. Also a weekly here. Interesting because of the gaps high just below. And to the upside, nothing much it seems. I'm not gonna bother mark out the lower points of control we have for the moment. So let's see the RTH chart. RTH charts. Let me delete this or hide this. RTH chart. Let me just update these gaps slightly. I think that is interesting enough. And to the upside, we have that one that I didn't actually notice, to be honest. Oh, and on top of that, there's that one. Okay, so currently we have a previous day view up just above us. The way we ended the day, I would expect an SFP of this. Seems like too easy of liquidity. So if Sydney starts a little bit up, mark out deviations of its opening range, 15 or 30 minutes, and see if one of the deviations is not lined up with these lows, because they seem pretty easy, right? Let me see what happened on... Oh, okay, never mind. But it's interesting. This means we're gonna have a little gap here. So it would be interesting to see this. I'm gonna keep this, but labeled differently. RTH liquidity. Actually, RTH equals. It's interesting how they shift, so I'm gonna keep it like that. I wouldn't expect this previous day view up to do much, just because of this wick and all. All of this is a vector. I saw this at the time and I understood why it stopped, why it couldn't even pump more, and essentially if I draw a box including all of these major wicks, that was essentially it. Or we can just talk, actually we can just talk about this last one. So it seemed logical to test a gap but come to a previous point, previous pivot, and not be able to go past it. So it makes sense. Now also keep in mind that we do have equal highs here, so also liquidity. This gap is too tiny to even be mentioned, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. So I guess I'm mostly interested. Let me see this on the 4-hour because I like that. Yeah, this over here looks very interesting. So 4-hour gap after these highs. Let me mark that too. 4-hour gap after these highs with a previous day view up and point of control very close to it. This line over here, by the way, represents the point of control of that candle. Also very interesting. And we have this, this was a, oh well, it's already tested, but it's interesting. It's an already tested breaker block. So that breaker really did its job, huh? Or that previous structure point, whatever you want to call. But that breaker really did its job. We essentially stopped at that gap's high, so I'm thinking that we're not going to drop more at the start of the week at least. I guess we'll have to see, because it might just depend completely on that previous day view up, or to be honest, or this gap. Let me see how this compares to the ATH chart. So this is a 4-hour FPG. Let's switch back. Basically same thing. We have equal highs there. The gap is a little lower than I thought, but it's essentially the same thing then. And it's interesting that the view app is exactly the middle of it, the middle of that gap. So yeah, I would actually, I will be very wary of this area. I'm looking here too for these two candles. They kind of line up very nicely. So if I do get on the long, I'm going to be a little bit defensive about it. Maybe take profit completely after we reach previous day view up, because if the reaction is not very bullish, at least on a 15-minute time frame, for example, I'm thinking we might continue going down. The chart is bearish, of course, but it's not the first time I've seen a gap being a very nice support for a move up. to get back into previous liquidity zones or something like that, and maybe then after that continue down. It wouldn't be the first time. From that same perspective, keep in mind this was the last area of range, and this is, well, technically it is an inverted gap, right? So if we stop here, it also makes sense. And this is also a bullish fair value gap, so if we're not able to close below it, we might not even come for this area. Okay, makes sense anyway. And this high that we are testing is an area of previous highs as well. So this is clearly a support and resistance zone that we reached into. So being that, I really wouldn't be surprised if we start coming up to here. Okay, even if we are to go more bearish than this, wouldn't be surprised if we either come up here and continue going up, if this is to essentially resume the sometimes seemingly permanent bullish market of ES, right? But this is an interesting place to stop at. One thing that we usually talk about in previous streams is to find an area that has an untested level like this, and then go to its highs, like whatever area is very frequently tested until you get to, and then you would update it to this, and then to that wick down over there, and this generally gives you very nice support resistance zones. This is not one of the best examples, but what I mean is these highs are untested for a while, and as you can see, they were support here, resistance here, area of consolidation and indecision here before dropping more. So in this case, if you follow this logic, these two, the open and close of these candles are very similar. Price has trouble getting above that, drops only after a liquidity grab does it flip structure, but when it does, it uses that area once again, so that does become a support and resistance area. Even if I extend it, actually let's test. Oh, I probably don't have any more highs. Yeah, I don't have any more areas to test there. But yeah, as a general rule, that will happen often. I can probably do it here too. I'm just gonna extend it, and you can probably see some interesting reactions on that zone. So really wouldn't be surprised if we don't come lower and just restart the bullish uptrend. Really wouldn't be surprised. NQ, as usual, is very similar, right? Let me just update the gaps that we have. So this is correct. Filled. Actually, let me see on this chart is easier even for the indicator to work. I wouldn't consider this one because of this wick. Filled. So this is done. Okay, one of the gaps we talked about previous week. So now we only have this, yeah, which was tested on market open, by the way. We bounced, used this probably as support, actually, just for you guys to see how this works very often. As we come down, we test this area, SFP this low, and after that I can't go forward. Wait, it's not doing my... Give me a second. Get out. Yeah, because it went down to the current one. Is it maybe too far away in time? Or is it because I switched to regular trading hours? It's probably because I switched, right? Yeah, it's because I switched. So let's put it up here again. Oh, probably cannot give me the 1 minute. Okay. The 1 minute would be a little bit better for you guys to see. But anyway, gaps up. It would be nice for you guys to see this. It opens here. Opens here, gaps down, uses all of this structure as a support. I can probably see the point of control there. Wait. If I put it before that candle. Come on. Doesn't want to work. That's weird. Did I find a bug? Okay. If I do it to that candle, it doesn't work. If I do it to the last candle of the RTH, it doesn't work. Interesting. Anyway, it comes here, so it basically comes to the bulk of it, and this candle anyway, and then it goes up. So when this happens, and you see a complete bullish move out of that. Oh wait. What gap am I seeing then? Doesn't load up until there. Bad example then, I guess. Or was the gap over here? I can't go on the RTH chart or I'll lose replay, so I can't really test it, but this is interesting. Anyway, let's not waste any more time. Less than an hour for Sydney to start, by the way. Let's see levels that we have. Let's mark out this previous day. 277, correct. Point of control above a high. We're gonna have this one as previous week. Kind of the same situation, huh? We have that naked VWAP below, naked weekly VWAP below, on a gap that is already tested. Might as well delete this, delete that. That is it, essentially. We still have that gap to fill, but that is it. Let me go further back. Let me mark out this one over here. This one apparently was already tested after open. That is it to the downside. Levels. So I'm just gonna mark out the points of control here. Not gonna bother too much about that lower one. That low just seems juicy. But it's also interesting that this one. Let me just edit the text and naked. It's orange, so weekly view up. Same thing here. I think this was already done. Let's get our replay, see what's up. Oh, it's not? It's all below? Oh, okay, yeah. None of this matters. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This is new. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So all of this is done. Yet, only thing that we have. Yeah, all that we have basically to test is 18224. To fill it would be 17987. I don't know if that's too bearish or not, but getting there would be interesting. And it looks like a decent block. I just hate those double lows over there. These lows really don't give me any confidence. But hey, you never know. You never know. So right now we took a low. I'm going to guess that Sydney opens up a little higher. Previous weekly view up is going to start here. This naked point of control is incorrect, right? Right. So there's nothing there except the previous weekly view up. And then it's just reasons to go up. So either from 7987 or from 18300, like somewhere around here, I'm expecting higher values. If we go up first, test the view up and then start dropping, then obviously I think it's kind of bearish up until either the view up or the gap's bottom. But the gap's bottom is probably a very nice take profit. Going up, it might just be the restart of a very bullish trend. Same thing as ES. Same thing as ES. So I guess that is it. I am going to post all of these this information on Discord. If you have any questions, you can leave them on the posts themselves, or you can talk about it on the trading rooms chats. Okay, guys. I will probably be doing London Open for whoever wants to join me tomorrow on Premium. And yeah, man, I have three accounts to pass, 3 challenges. So up overall on all of them. But yeah, let's see if we can make it happen this week. And that is it, guys. I'll see you around. Any questions, reach me on Discord. And yeah, good luck for the week, man. See you around. Bye bye.